Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound podcast. I'm your host, Anna Dana, head of growth at saas.group, serial acquirer buying wonderful SaaS businesses to take them to the next level, just like we did with Prerender. And here I chatted with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business a success. So today with me is Todd, founder of Prerender, one of the first brands that we ever acquired at saas.group, and now also the founder of LandingSite.ai. AI generated websites for every industry. And you probably see where I have a problem with that description, but we'll get there. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure, absolutely. Sorry. And before we jump into Prerender and all the ventures that you've been building so far, let's start with your background and how you got to do what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm Todd Hooper. And my background, went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia. Graduated, with a computer science degree. From there, I started at Lockheed Martin. That was my, one jump into the corporate world. And from there, I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. From there, I was like, okay, I want to work at a smaller company. I ended up moving to Boulder, Colorado, which is an awesome place to live and to be. Working at a smaller company called Rally Software. That's where I met my current co-founder, Andrew Homeyer, who is amazing. Went to a different company after that and then started Prerender from there.
People are drawn to Boulder for some reason. You're not the first, not even
Yeah,
the 10th maybe founder from there.
right?
What's going on?
It's great.
Magnetic fields.
It's great.
What?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, pre-render, when I got to learn about it, I was like, no, that's too complicated. But now I actually have just recently realized that I may use Prerender because with all the AI stuff, with all the AI builders like Lovable and stuff like that, you apparently need pre-rendering because otherwise Google won't be able to find you.
Right.
So yeah, how did the idea come to you?
Yeah, so pre-render allows JavaScript websites to be crawled by search engines and social networks and now AI crawlers. This was back in 2013, 2014. So this was when Angular JS1 was big, React was like a new thing. Had I guess back then it was like Andrew and I had built a couple different little startups and we're using Angular. So we ran into this problem many times where Google just could not index whatever we were building. And so basically, when Google or anyone else would visit your website, it would just be like looking at a blank white page. They could not see any content at all. And so I kind of one weekend was just like, well, what if I just built something to kind of fix this? And so I basically had it so that instead of Google seeing this blank page, it would see what you would see in your browser because we would load it in a browser, take a snapshot of the page and show that to Google instead. And so that way Google could see the entire content of your website without having to worry about it. I just kind of built it in a weekend, put it out there, made a little website for it. Someone found it and put it on Hacker News, and it had a bunch of people looking at it, talking about it. And so I was like, wow, maybe I could build a business out of this. And even though it was open source, what I had built, I kind of stood up a little business around I will do everything for you. So you don't have to worry about running all these browsers and all this stuff. You just put in this one line of code in your code and it just works. It worked out really well. I started getting people paying right away. I started charging from day one, which is a good thing that I always advocate for. And yeah, I mean, I had Twitch as one of my very early customers, and it was pretty much profitable from day one.
That's super cool. And did people come to you like me, when they built something and they're like, oh shit, now it's not indexed?
Oh yeah, we had big Fortune 50 companies, which is you'd think they would have their ducks in a row or whatever, but they would be like, oh no, we just put out this giant new release, we can't roll it back, and our Google ranking is tanking because it can't read our pages. And so you know, luckily it was like, you can do this in an hour. It's just very quick. You can install it and it'll work. And they were just super happy with it. And yeah, it was very, it was a good like place to meet the customer when they're just like ready to put money down and pay for it.
Yeah, and I mean, up until you sold pre-render, that was a teeny tiny team. Up to what point you still had this, okay, I'm gonna do this for you.
Yeah, I think it was just me until I was at like 2 million in
Hmm.
revenue, and then I added my brother on. He was going to do some like dev work for me. By that point, we were so swamped with like just customer support that like he and I just ended up doing customer support all day, every day. Which now I'm looking back, I'm like I should have like hired some people to to do customer support, but at the same time, like Pre-render was a complicated product where the developers have questions and all this stuff. So it's very like technical support. So that was kind of hard to give up. But yeah, it was just me until like 2 million in revenue, and then like SaaS Group came in the picture and like at like 2.5 million in revenue,
Yes,
yearly
exactly.
revenue.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So was that, customer support bit was that drove you to decision that, okay, maybe I'll just give this stuff up.
Right? Yeah, I was like, all right, I'm burnt out and this is a lot. And like now with Landing Site, we have someone that is amazing and does customer support for us, and it's amazing. It's so much better uh,
From day one.
than knowing like I'm the only one that could, yeah, that is doing it. So yeah, that was
Right.
definitely a big reason of entertaining the deal from SaaS Group.
So, I mean, I cannot not ask, right, how it went. And I mean, at $2.5 million in ARR, I'm sure, weren't the only ones that came over to you with an offer. So, why do we stand out?
Yeah, I think it was really just the fact that like SaaS Group was very upfront with their intentions, like no nonsense. They were very founder friendly. They, reached out to me. I didn't reach out to them, and they were just like, we want to see if you would entertain selling the business. And it didn't seem like they were trying to like lowball me ever or anything like that. And so it was just a really smooth process. And I had other people that I had been in touch with before about acquisitions, and they just never worked out because I think the ones that I had talked to before, it was more like Pre-render would become a product inside of their larger organization, and the
Right.
fit wasn't there. But with SaaS Group, they came in and they were just like, we like the business. They liked me being the founder. They wanted to keep me on, which I didn't stay on. But so that was another thing that was great, was they were very open to me being like, I want to try something else and move on. And so really just everything about it was great with SaaS Group.
Cool. I mean, that's great to hear. It's interesting that you said, okay, we were never lowballing you, and this is another, amazing thing to know.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of founders have that perception that, okay, whenever you're getting an offer to be acquired, then of course an acquirer's job is to make sure they offer you the lowest possible deal just to
Mm-hmm.
make a profit as soon as possible. So, how did you
Right.
educate yourself? Like, okay, what pre-render is worth, and what you can get, and what is a good offer?
Yeah, I think at the time I just kind of looked around online for things that might be relevant for my stage of growth and stage of company. I did from the other companies before. I did have some low balls, and so I kind of was hesitant going into it and just like not expecting a whole lot. And I think it was Tim that was just like, give us your number and we'll talk about it. And after talking with my wife and everything, going over all of the numbers of the business and kind of the landscape at the time, I just gave them my number. I was like, this is what I would, take to walk away from the business or to sell now. And Tim was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So there wasn't any kind of back and forth of just like, trying to save pennies here and there. It was just like, yeah, that works. And it worked out.
Cool. All right. So, I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit before the episode, is that you consider yourself a very much like 0 to 1 kind of person. So you like
Mm-hmm.
to, just start something new. And, with pre-render, I mean, it obviously worked really well. But now I don't know how much you're involved in, following what's going on with the company after the acquisition, but they are growing extremely well, and the,
Mm-hmm.
the team
Yep.
is amazing. And I mean, they're probably one of the biggest brands that we own now.
Yeah.
Any FOMO? Any like, okay, damn, I should have hired that customer support person?
Right? A little bit. But no, I mean, they've done an amazing job, and I'm super proud of them for doing what I couldn't have and what I didn't do. And I don't have any regrets about that at all. They've done a great job, and I've been able to watch and learn. They did a lot of what I wanted to do. Like, there's a blog post that they wrote of like, I was completely like, everything was on Amazon Web Services.
Mm-hmm.
I was paying like $1 million a year to AWS. And after the acquisition, I kind of helped a little bit in the process of like moving them, like when I was in my 6 month transition period, helping them like get off of AWS. And they eventually got up completely off AWS and were like paying 200K a year instead of a million. Like, that was always something that I wanted to do, but didn't have the bandwidth for. I mean, hiring people, they've, they have, I mean, how many people do they have now? It's like
Good question. I'm blurry because
10.
they're
Yeah.
hiring like every week.
Yeah. That's
Like,
awesome. I'm
can't
proud
keep
of
up.
them. I mean, yeah, they've done really well, and I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, awesome. Was that something that was important for you in the acquisition? Like that we keep the legacy and the brand is going to live as an independent company, and we're not going to merge it with anything, and it's just going to be pre-render the one that you found it.
I mean, a little bit, but it definitely did sit better knowing that like, oh, this wasn't just some like giant company that just wants to acquire something that's going to be like a line and on a website somewhere, that it's just like a tiny piece of their company. So that definitely was taken into account, and I love that it's continued on. And I mean, especially now with AI becoming big, like, who could have seen that coming? That like, Prerender now has this huge opportunity in serving these pages to the AI crawlers. Like, that's great too. So I think it is really cool that it's lived on its own and still has big opportunities in front of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about post acquisition, because you said it was important that, you are let go and you can do your own thing, the next thing that you wanted to start. What was the thing?
Well, the first thing was I took 2 years off. We had little kids, so it was definitely important. I was working a lot with Prerender. It was definitely important to take some time off. I think I didn't open my laptop for like a year or something, and that was very different, and nice. But after a while, Andrew and I, my co-founder, we I had sold Prerender. He was working for a company, and he was the CTO of Halp. They sold to Atlassian. And so he was kind of just coming off of his 4 years of working at Atlassian. And so we were like, all right, like, you're not going to have a job anymore. I don't have a job. Let's like start a company together. Because back when we worked at Rally together, we were always like starting stuff. And so we tried a few different things and ended up on LandingSite.
Okay. The websites for absolutely every industry.
Yeah.
how do how do you market that?
Well, I think we like to think of it as like an AI website builder for marketing websites. So like similar to Lovable, but Lovable, tries to do the whole like app development where you have a backend and they show you the code and you ask the AI to change the code and you can flip over to the website. With Landing Site, we're focused more on like, a website for your business. So if you have a landscaping business, you can just type in the information about your landscaping business, like where you are, your location, your phone number, address, like what you do, your services, and then just press the button and we make a website for your like business to try to attract customers and get you leads. So we'll create like a logo for your business. We write all the text and all the images. We pick all the images for the website, so we have like a big library of like Getty images that we pull images from, so they look really nice. And we basically just build you a nice website that you can present to your customers or show up on Google or wherever, and people can find you and contact you through your website. So really it's kind of like more like a Squarespace or a Wix if it was just completely AI powered.
Right. And like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's an amazing idea, but then again, you just said it right. It's like Lovable,
Mm-hmm.
but just for landing pages and marketers, or I don't know, maybe coaches, whoever wants a
Mm-hmm.
landing page. I feel like it's very difficult, and I think I asked that of every AI founder here. How do you grow that? How do you become discoverable when you do that? Because yeah, I mean, I know Lovable, I know, I don't know, like you said, Wix and whatnot. So the bigger players really. So how do you market to to marketers?
Right. Yeah, discoverability is really hard. And I don't think that's something that AI is going to solve as easily as like code generation, because everyone is going to have access to these new AI like platforms for making TikTok videos or SEO, like doing all your SEO for you, or whatever kind of marketing that you can do. And so it's just going to keep getting even more crowded, the space, and it's going to be even harder to get people's attention. So it is very hard. And I think the fact that we've kind of like found this niche of like people that just need a website for their business has been really powerful for us, because we're not trying to blanket the entire space. We're just trying to find these people who are have a business. They may not have a website already, or they do have one, but like Squarespace might be too hard for them, and they don't want to pay someone thousands of dollars to build a website for them. So we have this like specific like customer type that we can go and target, and we're not just trying to throw a bunch of money out just to get eyeballs.
Are you solving discoverability for your clients, by the way? Because Lovable, I think at first, I think they rolled out some kind of a new feature that does that, but I'm not completely sure. Do you do that?
Not yet. That's definitely on our like roadmap. We have a lot of ideas around like just, you know, doing all the like SEO for people, helping them show up where they need to show up for their type of business. But right now we're focused on just building like the best website, best looking website for these customers, for these businesses, so that they can go out and get their own leads and generate business for themselves. But that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like when I first built my first landing page with Lovable, and then I was like, okay, done deal. Now we're on Google and everyone can find us. And my friend was like, no, nobody's gonna find you. This is not alt
Yeah,
text. And I'm like, what?
right. That's hard.
Yeah, I
And
know.
we actually, sorry to the pre-render folks, but
Mm.
with my experience with this, we built landing site. We generate HTML, just regular old HTML. I know Lovable and all those other apps. They build like a React app, and you're running this React app like on a server. But so going down that path before, this time we were like, let's try to just generate some HTML, and so that we don't have to run into that problem.
So it's not like pre-render is built into LandingSite.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. But all right, well, tell me a little bit more about this niching down thing, like how you do that and how you find those people that become your customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the way to do it, because it's like, you start out with this new idea that you have, whatever it is, and you always are like, my total addressable market is like everyone in the world. That it's like you think like, oh, everyone's going to use this and it's going to be amazing. And as you like get out and talk to people, it kind of adds guardrails and kind of sends you down a certain path of like, okay, like for us, we started talking to people and figuring out like which types of people need these websites and don't already have one, or are maybe they're too like non-technical, where like anything on the computer is just like just they don't want anything to do with it because it's just hard. And so like just running experiments and finding the people that have like the hardest time and the biggest problem with the thing that you're trying to solve is the easiest way to, you know, make a successful business, is just finding the people that have this giant problem they're willing to pay you money to, if you fix it for them. I think, you know, it's kind of the whole like lean startup thing of like building an MVP and trying to learn something as fast as possible. So as long as you are, you know, talking to users and like learning as much as you can, I feel like it's almost impossible not to like niche down, because you're going to find these people who say like, I have this problem, like please help me solve it and I will pay you money for it. And if you just keep bumping into those people over and over, you just find, you know, kind of some similarities where you can be like, okay, this is who we want to target.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's maybe go back a little bit to discoverability, because people you described, I think, might have a bit of a hard time finding you guys. So how do you make sure that you target specific keywords, or making sure that you're discoverable on ChatGPT and whatnot? Is it, still kind of trying to niche down and say, okay, we are a tool for marketers, or I don't know, you're making it simpler, like I don't know, a Thai restaurant near me, so
Yeah, right.
kind of style.
Yeah. And so like, you know, SEO helps there, finding people who might be typing in like, you know, a website for a moving company, something like that.
Mm.
So like we have some like pages that are specifically targeted to these types of businesses that people might be searching for because they're starting these businesses, and they can land on landing site from Google or wherever, see a website that they say, you know, oh, this is like pictures of like websites we've built that look nice. And they're like, okay, I can, you know, maybe build a website myself and it would be a lot easier. There's definitely, yeah, ways to target even our non-technical customer base. One thing that Andrew and I tried early on, it was not as successful as we wanted, but we're going to try it again soon now that our websites look better. But what we were doing early on was we were like building websites for companies. Like we would open up our state's LLC, like business registry. And so we would find new businesses that had just been formed. We would check and see if they had a website. And if not, we actually made a website. We printed it on like cardstock, a picture of their website, and we mailed it to them in the mail. And we were like, here's your new website, because on the business registry, it has their address. And everyone like looks at their mail and throws it away. And so we were like, you know, people are going to see this like physical mail being like, here's your website with, you know, they'll see their business name and logo and all this stuff. And we were sure that people were going to convert.
Cool.
Yeah,
Did
it
it
was really
work?
fun. Well, this was
Or people were like, oh, that's
er,
creepy.
I know, right? Yeah, we thought about that too. But this was early on, and like we didn't have like logos yet and stuff like that. And this was an earlier version of the AI, so the websites
Hmm.
didn't look great. We only sent maybe like 10, so we didn't send enough to get like a sample size. We did not get any conversions from that. But to this day, I still think that it's a great idea, and we're going to try it again. Now that our websites are much better these days, I think it would really work well, especially if we could, like nowadays, we can really, I think, using AI, like like print more of them quicker, get more of them out, and actually turn it into something that might work.
Awesome. Yeah, so I honestly really want to ask you about this, because you're saying, yeah, that the websites are looking a lot better, and there are a lot of moving parts in a good landing page or website, whatnot, and there are certain limitations in the AI still, and there are hallucinations and stuff like that. And I'm asking pretty much every founder how you deal with that, and how do you communicate that to your customers. Do you reach out back and say, oh, okay, we flopped here, let us fix that for you? Or you're like, yeah, okay, well, it will get better like next month, so we don't know.
Right? I know, it's like every month something
Yeah.
new. But yeah, that is a problem. It's definitely hard. And really, you just try to work around it and put band-aids on it until the AI gets better, because that's what is happening. And Andrew and I, like from the start, we were like, okay, we can tell that the AI is going to get better and it's going to be able to do this one day. So, if we can build the entire system around it, as the AI gets better, we can just add the new AI in and throw out all these band-aids, and it'll just keep getting better. And that's really what has happened. It's like we we started out with like a template system where you could only pick like between 5 different templates, and the AI would only replace the text. So you would basically, every website would look the same. It would have different colors, different text, and different images, but it was the same template. We don't do that anymore because the AI has gotten better and can build websites on its own. It can add, it can tell, it knows like what sections to add and like how many, and when to stop, and like what each section should look like, especially for a certain type of business. Once the AI, which we're using, we started that with Sonnet 4. We're on Sonnet 4.5 now. But like once we started using that, it was like night and day, because we have so many like diverse businesses being entered into LandingSite that like our template system wasn't good enough for all the different types of businesses out there. But now that Sonnet 4 and 4.5 can really like customize a website just depending on the business, our numbers were just like through the roof, because it was like each person was getting like a personalized website that looked great with like minimal edits, and they could just hit publish and be online. So it really is just like put as many band-aids on it as you can and get it to work, so that you can get the early adopters, the people who are like, I have this problem and it's such a pain that I would love for you to fix it no matter like what it looks like. Then, as the AI gets better, then you're going to get more and more people on that adoption curve, more of the people that are more hesitant or need more features, or whatever. But it's just like, as AI gets better, you'll just keep riding that adoption curve.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you, yeah, how do you communicate the limitations and hallucinations to your very specific non-technical crowd?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you say, okay, this is AI, and everyone goes like, what's AI?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I know it's very hard, because AI is so good at like some things, but it's like terrible at other things. One thing with websites, like, you might be like, move this picture to the left a little bit. And the AI is so bad at that, because it's just bad at spatial things. It's not, especially when it's looking at like HTML, it's always looking at the code, and it's not seeing it like we're seeing it. And even if you showed it like a picture, because it has like image recognition or whatever, even if you showed it a picture and said move this over, it's still like, it doesn't have that like spatial awareness that like we do. And so I've found that people get very frustrated at, because it's like you gaslighted of just like, we made this beautiful website and the AI does like whatever they want, like, like change this, add this, like it'll add like JavaScript, like so you can add like complicated tools to your website, but then they're like, move this picture to the left a tiny bit, and it doesn't do it, and it's very
And it
upsetting.
acts like a Google Doc and just,
Yeah, right. And it's like, okay, I did it,
yeah.
and it's just like, no, you did not do it. But I think that's just something that we're all going to have to get used to, is just that AI is not going to be correct every time. We definitely try to tell our users that it can make mistakes. We have, a thumbs up and thumbs down button. Right now, if people click the thumbs down button, we like, that goes to our support email, like every thumbs down, and we like try to reach out to them and help them out. We also have a pretty robust like eval system, where even those thumbs down buttons, like if someone clicks it, it uploads that to our eval system, and we can try to fix it with prompting or code or whatever, so that when we run those evaluations, we can try to see like, okay, this person had trouble with this problem, did we fix it by adding new prompts or whatever. So we definitely try to improve on the AI model, but really the biggest thing is just like waiting for a new AI model.
Are there any tricks that you've learned about AI over the course of building this? Like my, I think, biggest learning was when I was doing something for myself and I realized that ChatGPT, for example, would react, for example, with image recognition, it would react a lot better to an image that has been created by a different LLM and would read it a lot easier and better than, for example, a photo of me or whatever I am uploading there. And it
Mm-hmm.
was so such a good learning for me because I was working a lot with images. So that was one trick for me. Anything that you've learned?
Not anything on like our public facing side. I definitely use Cursor all day, every day, and with like coding, I've found that if you're writing code with Sonnet, you want to like switch to another model to say very similar to say like look over this code that you just wrote and find any bugs or issues or security problems or whatever. Like an AI grading its own generated content doesn't do as good as like a different model grading that content, which is similar to like our eval system. We generate everything in Sonnet, and then we have our OpenAI do the evaluation on our evals. That's kind of the biggest trick I've seen so far. Because yeah, I mean the AIs tend to like agree with whatever you tell them, and when it's grading its own generation, it misses things that other models catch.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're like, no, you stupid piece of
Right?
whatever.
Yes.
And
Yep.
they're like, yes, I know.
Yeah. It's like you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so polite
Uh-huh.
to abuse. Oh my God.
Yeah, I feel bad for it sometimes.
I know, yeah. But how much of the lending site is being, I don't want to say is being built by AI, but it is being assisted by AI? And how do you evaluate if, like you said, it's correct and it's what you want to build? Because I think one of the other problems that we run into, like with Lovable and whatnot, is that yeah, it looks amazing. I mean, it's all there. Like my friend who's a developer says, yeah, amazing. Nobody knows what's inside, and if anything
Right.
breaks, you're going to pay me big bucks to find out.
Right, and come fix it. Yes.
Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah, how do you do that?
Yeah. I would say it's very close to 100% of our code nowadays is written with AI. We're definitely not like vibe coding it. I, go through every single line and like, approve it all and make sure that it, there's no security issues. It's basically like if I were writing the code, but I have, AI just do it a lot faster. So it's definitely, you definitely have to review it. You definitely have to go over it with like a fine tooth comb, because it, not that it will lie, but just that it thinks it always does it correctly every time. And you have to remember that it's not going to be correct every time. So you really do have to just like go over it, which I don't know if maybe since we're building a React app that's like, I'm sure there's a ton of React stuff in the training data, and that it's just something that like the AI works really well with what we're doing, because it can do so much. It can do a really good job with the kind of app that we're building. So I don't know if I was building something that was, more of an obscure language. I don't know how the AI performs with like Go and other languages, but with what we're doing, it always does a very good job. But it's still definitely something that we keep our guard up and like, make sure we're not just like pushing things to production without reviewing it.
Yeah, of
But yeah,
course.
it's great.
Makes sense. And do you sometimes get into this rabbit hole of, why is it not faster? Can we do it
Yeah,
faster?
I know, because
uh,
it's like you type something and then you just get on your phone or whatever.
I
And I
know.
have to sometimes be like, okay, no, like don't don't, flip the page over to like news or whatever. Like sit here and like wait for it to be done, because then you get sidetracked and then you're like, oh wait, that thing's probably done by now. Let me go back and look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's just so bizarre. Like I noticed it. I was building this teeny tiny chat that works with our M&A course, and what I did was basically asked it to be like a super clean little app where I uploaded transcripts that it has to work with, yada yada yada. And because I had to connect quite a few pieces together, it took me like an hour and a half. And I was like, okay, that is so long. And like, mind me, I have zero technical experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it's taken too long. What if I
Yeah.
just had this prompt that was ready and I would put it into Lovable and it worked? And
Do
then it was
all of
like,
it.
dude, like last year, you wouldn't be able to do shit. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. You get
so
so used to it. Yeah.
it's crazy.
And
Huh?
like even like it still takes the same amount of time as it did back then, but the code is so much better. And so it's like, I don't know, it's just easy to just get complacent and be like, yeah, why don't you like hurry up, or like when it does something wrong, you're just like, why are you getting this wrong? But yeah, I don't know, it's just like, I think we have to sit back and realize that, I mean, even a year ago, definitely 2 years ago, but like even a year ago, the models were just not good enough to do what we're doing now. Something that I've been doing a lot more, Andrew, my co-founder, got me into this, was like I'll have like GPT-5 write out like a spec in a markdown file. So you're kind of just being like, here's what I want to do. Here's like, what I'm thinking, things that I'm concerned about. Let's write a markdown file and kind of iterate on it together. And then so that way you get a lot more consideration in there about like, okay, security, let's think about these things. Here's like what we want to do. And then once you're happy with that markdown file, you switch over to Sonnet for whatever and say, all right, here we go. Like, let's implement this now. And it will go write all the code. And I've found like that to be much more useful and thorough and correct by taking a little bit of time ahead of time to like plan it out with a different model, so that you kind of have a lot more context in that markdown file, so that the AI, once it starts coding, it can really get in there and do it right the first time, instead of having to be like, oh, and let's do this and let's do this, and it's just much better and faster that way, I feel like.
Exactly. At SaaS Group, we code 2025, the year of AI, to kind of implement that, because obviously, we all have our day jobs. We actually allocated time for a specific course that we're all taking to kind of
Mm-hmm.
learn a bit more of what is AI, what is capable of, and whatnot. And I think, I mean, it was mostly very theoretical and a bit more technical than I wanted it to. But one thing I learned, and that really stuck with me and that I use every day now, is that it likes to work in smaller chunks. So
Mm-hmm.
you start with like, okay, this is my idea. What do you think about it? And how do you
Right.
implement that and that? And then you kind of piece it all together and be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, now let's create a code or whatnot. And then
Right.
it's much better.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's crazy. Like now, like code is basically free now. Like, I used to sit there for hours and hours, like writing some like feature, and now it's just so easy to have the AI implement it and then just throw away the code and just be like, and then have it do it again, and just kind of like learn each time of like, if it's doing something different or if there's a different way it's thinking about it. And so like, since code is basically free now, it's like our how we work needs to change to like match this new reality. And I mean, a lot of people, there are lots of different people who I've talked to who like, code is like a craft to them, and so they don't like AI, and I understand that. But like for me, as someone that just wants to build something that's useful for people, it's like the code is just like a means to an end. So now that AI makes it so much easier and faster, it's just like incredible how much faster you can move by kind of like freeing yourself from the way you used to do it or whatever. And I thinking back to pre-render, apologies to the new team, but like my code back then was spaghetti code, and my code back then was, a bunch of hacks that I put in for whatever reason because something blew up in the night and I had to fix it. And so people complain about AI just like generating bad code, and it's like I've written plenty of bad code in my life, and if you can iterate so much faster, you can, either, I mean, now it generates really nice code anyways, but you can like have it work, on it until it gets something that you're happy with, or you can keep iterating and just build something that like is useful. And it's just like, I mean, that's like, I don't understand why people get upset about using AI for coding. It's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we've got like huge expectations and just
Mm-hmm.
like remember when ChatGPT just came out and we were like, okay, build me a business.
Yeah, right. And it didn't do it, and you're like, okay, this is terrible. Yeah.
That doesn't work. That nobody needs that.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally understand. But coming back to what you're building and what came out of it so far, what do you think has been the biggest win and the biggest failure with landing site? Can be for you personally or for the
Mhm.
business.
I mean, the biggest win I think is just that it's doing really well. I like we're looking at adding 1 million in annual revenue this year. So it's doing great. Next year is going to be even better. So I think that's probably our biggest win, is just that it's like it's doing, great. As far as failure, I don't think we've had just like, one big failure. I've definitely pushed a lot of bad code that like has broken things and bugs here and there and people getting upset. But the good thing about SaaS, as you fix something or you add a new feature, or you whatever, and you might do it for one person, but every other customer that comes through the door from here on out like never sees that problem, which I love that about SaaS. It's just like you're constantly getting new people, you're constantly fixing problems, adding new features that people are super excited about. So even if you do fail here and there, it's okay, and everything will be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you announced that you're reaching $1 million in ARR, how many calls from investors and acquirers are you expecting?
Right? Well, yeah, we are like bootstrapped, and right now we're not planning on taking any investments. So I think, we've gotten a few already. We've talked to a few companies just to talk and chat, but nothing that we're interested in at the moment. We're really just trying to grow and to help our users, and we feel like that is the best path to success for us, to make sure that we are just doing what we are trying to do, which is building the best websites for our customers that we can build.
I heard an interesting take on that from a founder who said you cannot bootstrap an AI tool. What do you think about that?
It's hard, but I would say it's hard because the cost. Our AI bill is large, but I feel like I kind of have the experience of Prerender, which was very similar. I was with Prerender, at one point in time, I was running 1,000 servers with browsers just constantly opening web pages and saving them. And so, like, I mentioned before, my Amazon bill was 1 million a year. So I think I've kind of gone through this before, and so I'm not scared of having a large AI bill, but it is a balancing act, which I think, any bootstrap company is. We don't want to spend too much money on our bill, but we want to grow as much as we can, as much as our marketing and people coming in the door will allow. I think it's possible, but it's definitely a lot harder than just building a regular, SaaS that doesn't take a whole lot of money to run.
Okay. All right. So it's possible. We
Yes,
got that.
it's possible.
Because, like, I mean, literally, I think pretty much everyone said yeah, you cannot bootstrap an AI tool just because of the cost, and just because if you want to get ahead also in this game, then you have to have the momentum, and it's easier to do it with an influx of money, which obviously is understandable. But I just don't like the black and white of like, okay, it's impossible.
Right. I think it's definitely hard. From day one, you should be charging your customers, and you should be charging them based on the value that you're providing them, not based on your costs. And so if you're building something that actually provides value for people and helps them and enough where they're willing to pay, a good amount of money, it's hard to charge people, a couple dollars and make a business off of that. But so you need to build something that's valuable enough that you can charge people enough to pay for your AI bills and employees and whatever you need to do. So it is hard, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing of where you're just building a business and you need to try to solve a problem that's, a pain. Like what's the saying? It's like not a vitamin, but a painkiller. Like you need to be
Exactly.
building something that is like enough of a problem where people will pay you enough to cover all of your bills for it.
Yeah. And okay, so since we're talking about kind of like value based pricing, I think it's a little bit difficult with AI because a lot of people don't understand the value
Mm-hmm.
that is being provided, because it's magic, it's super fast and it's just there for you. So,
Yeah.
and I don't think I went to your pricing page, but if you can tell me how you figured out your pricing for landing side, that would be great.
Yeah, well, we're still figuring it out, but we did start much lower. We also started with like parity pricing. So, like countries that have a lower purchasing power compared to the US dollar, we would give them a discount because, we wanted like a company that was in Mexico or in somewhere in Africa to be able to build their own website and be able to afford it so that they could, run their own business. We started with that. That really helped us kind of like get off the ground because we could, with AI, it can write in any language. So our websites have been, global from day one, where it can build a website in Spanish. It can build a website in an obscure language as long as the AI can write it. So that really helped us out in like not having to focus on just people in the US. As over time, we did eventually get rid of that because we found so many of those people coming in were actual businesses that were making enough money and we didn't have to bring our pricing down because it's not like a Netflix where they're trying to just get as many people as they can to pay. It's more like we're targeting businesses, not just people, and these businesses are making money, so they were able to afford to pay. So our pricing has definitely evolved from all of that, but we've ended up with like we have a plan that's $12 a month for just like a homepage. So you don't get any other pages on the website, but just the homepage, and you can publish that to your domain. And then we have a $24 a month plan, which is like as many pages as you want on a website. So that's kind of where we've ended up now, which is pretty similar to like Squarespace and Wix. So I think we've kind of had other companies to go off of and see how much they charge, and our customers are already kind of like aware of that type of pricing. But it's still in progress. And if we add features like you were talking about, like marketing features or SEO type features for people, I think depending on how much AI it uses in our costs there, we might have to, charge for certain types of add-ons or features. But that's kind of where we're headed, is just like, I think we want to keep our plans as like cheap as we can and have like an add-on type system where people can add what they need. So we're not charging people a ton of money for stuff they don't need.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. All right, well, my last question is always about a hack, right? And I think I already asked you if there was a hack with AI that you figured out, but yeah, anything that helps the business or you run it and you think other founders would benefit from.
Hmm. I don't think we have a hack that with AI that helps us run the business. We're using AI to write our code like many other people are. I really like the hacks that are like, since startups are such like a cross between technology and psychology, because you're trying to build something and trying to present it to someone and have them understand what it is quickly enough, figuring out like whether it would help them in their day-to-day life, and then figuring out if like trying to get them to pay for it, like that's such a big hurdle. And so there's so much psychology there. And so I really love the hacks, like I talked about, like sending people something in the mail that they'll see and be like, wow, like my website is already done, it's $20 a month or whatever, and like it's a no-brainer. Like I love figuring that kind of stuff out. So I think just the hacks, like I encourage people to think about like how they can, think outside the box, and like do things that don't scale, to really try to understand their customers better, and like, figure out their niche where they can really use that to grow their business more.
Yeah, that's a great one. I think at some point we had an idea of sending something to founders as well from SaaS Group, but we wanted to like send it to them, not to the business.
Yeah.
Uh, but then we figured that yeah, in Germany that's pretty frowned upon. So we're like,
Yeah.
no, we'll
Maybe if you
figure
show
something
up,
else out.
you'd
Yeah,
have to show up to the office. Yeah.
yeah,
Hand
yeah, true.
deliver
Hand deliver it. Yeah,
it.
that's going to be costly, but let's see.
Yeah. Just like,
But
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. I mean, it's great talking to you. Great hacks. Great to see how you're growing bootstrapped and, get some hope for for other AI powered bootstrappers. So yeah, great seeing you here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And I'm sure one day I'll make it out there and come to a SaaS group event and hang out with
Yes.
everyone. It'll be fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we should go to Boulder because I mean,
Yeah. That would be awesome.
apparently great place.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So expect an email from us soon.
Sounds great. I love it.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Todd, and take
Thanks
care.
for having me. Bye.